Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name's Tanya. We're gonna cut right to the chase here. This is number 4 in a series of 4 videos about what to do with honey roll dough. The first video out of 4 being the honey roll dough itself. So if you need a comprehensive explanation, demonstration, whatever about the honey rolls themselves, go ahead and go back to the initial video, which is just called honey rolls. But this one, we're going to take that honey roll dough and we're going to make cream cheese apple rolls. And if anything could possibly top the last one we did, it might be these. It's kind of a close tie between these two. So go with me as we do this. We're gonna jump right into this recipe. I have the milk heated up. We're just gonna get this dough going. It's like a little short video clips of put this in the mixer, start the mixer, turn the mixer off, turn the mixer back on, let it rest for a while. So just bear with me as we go through this. So the first thing you wanna do is get your stand mixer ready. And I have a cup of warm milk. This is 1 cup of organic whole milk. Just gonna pour it in there. And it is to about 110 degrees, just something warm enough to when you stick your finger in it, you're like, I can't really feel the liquid in that. That's a good temperature right there. You know it's good. To that, I'm gonna sprinkle 2.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast on top of it. We're also going to add a couple of tablespoons of honey. I'm going to eyeball this. And we'll need more honey for later for our filling, so just kind of hang on to that. This particular recipe is so fabulous. It's definitely a dessert, but it has no processed sugar in it. We're going to use honey to sweeten our mixture with the cream cheese and apples in the center, and we're even going to use honey to sweeten our mixture in our glaze. So if you have somebody who doesn't want the processed sugar, this is definitely the dessert for them. This is a 1/2 cup of extra virgin organic olive oil. And again, I'm just kind of flying through these instructions on this because we already have this in every other video. And surely by now, since you've tried all of them, you know how to make the honey rolls. We are also going to put 1 egg in there. We're going to put 3.5 cups of unbleached organic flour in this. I can already see my yeast in there activating from that warm milk touching it. That's a good sign. And 1.5 teaspoons of salt. This is pink Himalayan salt, but use what you have. Put our dough hook on. We're going to let this mix for 5 minutes. And then we'll be right back. Okay, our timer just went off. It's been 5 minutes. So now we're simply going to turn the mixer off. Don't cover it or anything. You can take your spatula and scrape around the edge of the bowl and just make sure it's all kind of down in there. Really no purpose to that except for I like my bowl to look good. So we're going to let this rest for 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, we'll come back and we'll turn it back on. So we'll be right back. Okay, our dough has been resting for 5 minutes. Timer just went off. We're going to turn the mixer back on. Again, not a high speed, just a regular low speed. We're going to run it for 40 minutes. And I said that right, 40 minutes. Now this is the point where my mixer sometimes has a mind of its own and it wants to walk off the counter almost, which almost gave me a heart attack when I made chocolate rolls. So I'm gonna be in the next room folding some laundry, and I'm gonna keep an eye on this. So for 40 minutes, let your mixer run, and then we'll be back after that. Okay, our mixer's been going for 40 minutes. We're gonna turn that off. Whew, man, that's a lot of noise. You get it for 40 minutes. I would say it's just kind of blends into the background, but it just never does. Between that, the washing machine, and everything else, just typical noise. All right, can I clean the dough off the hook? I really should unplug this before I start messing with that dough hook. I'm gonna take this dough off the hook as best we can. Sometimes it just climbs up. All right, so I have to go do something for about, I don't know how long this is gonna take me. I have to go help a friend do something for a little while. Oh, I didn't turn my light back on. Sorry, it looks dark in here. But I'll be back, and when we come back, we're going to make our apple cream cheese filling for these. So I have my, what do I have over there in the bowl? Oh, I have the butter and the cream cheese right now softening. So you can never let it really soften too much. So we have that over there softening. So by the time I get back, we'll be ready to chop up our apples and mix in. I've got my 2 Fuji apples washed, and they're set aside. So, all right, we're gonna let this rest for about an hour, and we'll be back and put our apple rolls together. Okay, so our dough has risen. You can tell how big that is. Let me shoot this camera over here. Okay, you can tell how fluffy that is. We're gonna set that aside for just a minute because we want to get our apple mixture all combined. So in this bowl, I have 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of butter, and I just had it on a warm burner, on like super low on the back burner of the stove. And I just let it sit there a while to soften, and then stirred it up and got it kind of fluffy. So that's all that's in here right now. To that, I am going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. This is just ground cinnamon. I buy it bulk section at the store. An 1/8 teaspoon of allspice. We talked about allspice in the cinnamon rolls earlier, but it really does make a nice difference. Such a small amount, but it makes a pretty big difference. Okay, and then an 1/8 teaspoon of fresh grated nutmeg. If you only buy the dry powdered nutmeg, I recommend going and grabbing you some of these. They just look like, actually, the whole ones kind of look like a pecan. But you're going to take them and put them on a rasp, real fine microplane grater, and you can see it has that flat edge to it where I've grated it before. Let's get it go in the right direction here. And it doesn't take much to get it off, and that's just the powdery mix from it. That's a great flavor. It has, well, it has flavor of apple pie, actually. You can get the nutmeg in there. Okay, and of course we want to balance out our sweetness that we're going to add to it with a little bit of salt. So I would say about an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Not a lot, but we're going to be adding some honey to it, so we don't just want sweet. We're going to get about 1/4 cup of honey. So let's see. Measure it out in here. also have cut up 2 Fuji apples. Now, if you say, well, all I have in my refrigerator is Red Delicious, I'm sorry, go to the store, get you some different kind of apples, because I'm telling you, Red Delicious are not grown for flavor. They're grown for like coffee table decorations back in the 50s. They don't have a lot of flavor to them, but if you'll get not a Granny Smith, because Granny Smith is just tart. Okay, here's our 1/4 cup of honey. We're gonna add to that too. But my favorite apples by far are Fuji, because they're just consistently sweet, have a little bit of tartness to it, but they're crisp and just absolutely consistently delicious every time. Galas, not so much. Some are good, some are not as good, but that's probably the kind that you're gonna find most readily is Galas. But I would not recommend Galas. Honey Crisp is a good one as well. I haven't always had good luck with Honey Crisp, but a lot of people say that's my favorite. I won't eat anything else. So if that's the kind you want to put in this, then that's fine. But I would highly recommend trying Fuji. They're good. They're just really good. They're my favorites. But I can find organic Fujis at our local big store. And it only takes 2 of them in this recipe, so you're not using a lot. But I'm going to show you in just a minute how finely I chopped these. My husband saw them earlier and he said, that's some pretty finely chopped apple. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of looks like almost that we put it through a grater. But we did chop those up. All right, so this is that other mixture in here. It's kind of our paste part of it. Just see that. If you have any family members or friends that really, they like dessert, they like sweets, all right, but some things are just so sweet over the top they can't eat them. And my mother was like that. She'd say, it's just too sweet, I don't like it. But then she'd go eat something sweet, and I'm thinking, you're drinking sweet tea, but you say that this cookie is too sweet. Anyway, but this is a good balance of it. I think because of the saltiness and the spices in there too. Not spicy like hot, but just the cinnamon and the allspice and the nutmeg in there. They just have such a beautiful balance to it. Now, I would say, oh, this is where I found this recipe, but honest to goodness, I invented this. I'm not even kidding. I was so proud of myself when I did it. I couldn't stop making it for a while. So we're glad that part of my life is over with, but it really is a good recipe. Okay, so this is how finely we've chopped our apples. It looks like little bits of granola or something. So this is just going to make it easier to roll up the dough once we get it on there. So we're going to pour this into our mixture that we just mixed up. That looks good enough to eat by itself. All right, now we're going to get this dough out, put it on our countertop. This is going to look just like what we did with the cinnamon rolls and the chocolate rolls. No flour required on our countertop because the dough has a lot of oil in it. And it is so fun to work with. All right, let's get out our rolling pin. And I want to make sure this camera picks this up. All we're going to do is roll out our rectangle again, just like we did in the other two. this time I do not have to get a disposable pan and the parchment paper because these are staying with me. We're having breakfast foods at our small group Bible study tomorrow night, and this is what I'm taking, even though everybody else is taking a bread product too, so we'll see what happens. I told them I would bring this and whatever else I thought of that sounded breakfasty. So I gotta think of something breakfasty that's not a bread product, so maybe a fruit salad or something like that at least. Down here in my, or up there, let me see which kind of pan do I want to put these in. I'll have to ponder that for a minute. Maybe this one. Okay, we'll go with this one. This is just a, this is a Emil Henry, just a ceramic pan. Let's see what the measurements on that are. This is about a 9.5 by 11.5. And we'll hope it fits in there. All right, so we're gonna take our mixture here that we mixed up. We're gonna dump it on there just like our cinnamon mixture or our chocolate mixture. Spread this around. This is considerably runnier, thinner than the cinnamon or the chocolate mixture. So a little more caution is taken keeping it on there. But just try to spread it as much to the edge as you possibly can, especially the sides. Not necessarily the top or the bottom again, but just the sides. This is going to have a glaze on it as well, but even the glaze is only sweetened with honey. It's going to have cream cheese and honey and, let's see, cream cheese, honey, and salt. The only 3 ingredients in the glaze on it. And it really is good. I'm not even kidding when I say you're going to be surprised that this is not a sugar sweetened dessert. All right, let's get out our dental floss. There's our dental floss. You can see that. Put that aside. We're going to take this and roll it up. This one's a little more tricky to handle than the drier ones, of course, because it's like rolling up something wet in some dough, which is kind of what it is. You'll get your hands a lot messier with this one than the other ones, I can promise you that. But it's gonna be worth it. Okay, take that edge and pull it over the top. Instead of rolling the whole thing over and kneading the seam, are meeting the other edge. Pull that edge up to the top. And let's leave that seam on the top this time, just because we've got all those ingredients that'll come out. And notice, instead of my hand blocking the end of it, I'm using this bench scraper because that filling is trying to come out. But it's not a mistake. That's just how it does every time I make it. It is very, very messy. All right, let's take our dental floss and mark our cutting lines on there, our slices. 1, 2, 3. So it's divided in 4. We're going to divide each one of the fourths into thirds. All right, and we'll cut them. You kind of have to be quick snapping that dental floss under there, because that dough is kind of floppy around all those wet ingredients. And I don't want it to sound scary. It's not scary making this. It's not like you're going to fail at it. It's just, it's not quite as clean as making the cinnamon rolls or the chocolate rolls. Okay, now to get them off in this, you might have to use our bench scraper to do this. All right, there's our one roll. Do the other end. Whew. Kind of wanting to come undone, so you have to tighten them up as you put them in the pan. Trust me, these look better once they're baked. They look like a wreck right now. This smells so good, guys. All right, we're gonna put these in the oven and turn the light on. Good thing I cleaned my countertop. I'm having to break up part of this filling off that. All right, we're gonna put these in the upper oven. Turn the light on. We'll let these rise for an hour. So I'm gonna set my timer for an hour. And then, when almost an hour gets here, right before my timer goes off, take those out of the oven and we'll preheat the oven to, let's see, what am I cooking these at? I think 350. Yeah, we'll do these at 350 again, and then we'll bake these off. So we'll show you the rest of the process in just a bit. So hang with us. Okay, here's our apple cream cheese rolls. Sorry, there's a shadow on it, but this is what they look like. We're gonna pop them in the oven at about 350 degrees. Our oven's already preheated now, and sorry, I was on the phone with my daughter and I just couldn't get off. I just missed seeing her face so much, and we were FaceTiming. So anyway, oven's been preheating a while. So we're gonna put these in there for about 30 minutes, and then we'll turn the cameras back on when they come out of the oven. And we'll put our glaze on after they're cooled off a bit. I already have my glaze made and waiting over there, so yummy. So we'll get these baked off and we'll be right back. Okay, our timer's going off on our oven and we're gonna get our rolls out. And I'm only laughing because I was visiting with my neighbor and she had her little girl over here. She was being so funny. She wants to play with the dog blanket. All the toys, she wants to play with the dog blanket. Or we don't really have a lot of toys, but just other stuff she could be interested in, but she wants the dog's blanket. She is obsessed with that for some reason. Okay, gonna get our rolls out. They smell really good. Again, I wish there was a scent app where you could smell things that somebody's trying to show you through the video. But let me get these a little closer to this. And that's what they look like. Now we're gonna give these a few minutes to cool off before we put our glaze on. Otherwise it'll just kind of disappear into the bread. So we'll be right back in a bit and I'll show you what it looks like with the glaze on. I'll go ahead and put the glaze on it. Then I'll turn the camera on and show you the final product. So anyway, yeah, that'll come next. But thanks again for joining us for everything. Thank you for joining us for our 4-part series on what to do with honey rolls. And I hope you try at least one of these things. They're just so good. And I know I say that about everything, but I'm not tricking you. It's really good. But anyway, it's always a pleasure, and we look forward to sharing something again with you soon. Bye. Okay, so I was just going to show you the cinnamon rolls, but I have to tell you what's in the glaze mix. In the glaze, in this bowl, I softened a lot. 2 ounces of cream cheese, a little pinch of salt, and a tablespoon of honey, and that's it. And it really is some of the best cream cheese frosting that you'll ever have. Now, it might not be as thick as what you want to put on like a cake or cupcake or something like that, of course, in bigger batches, but it really is very nice. So I'm just spreading this on. These are still a little bit warm, but not hot. And these really don't need a whole lot extra because those apples and that honey on the inside and all the spices are so good. Even if you don't like apple things, this might be something that would actually change your mind on that. I used to think I wasn't a huge fan of apples. I didn't have anything against them, but it wasn't my first choice. It was always chocolate. But when I started adding cream cheese to it, my opinion changed. I love apples. Okay, so there is our finished product. That is our apple cream cheese rolls. Right there. Enjoy. Thanks for joining us.